How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. I'm glad we got the this thing figured out.
Yeah.
Whew. Can you still hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Man, I'm sick. I'm just excited to get you on the podcast.
Yeah, it says it's my time podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
It's my time. I like that.
It's your time. So the way I've been starting it so far is just asking the guest of the week, or I guess the guest of the podcast, who do you say you are?
Who do I say I am? Okay. Is that the question?
Yes.
Now, I am Rochelle T. Parks. I am your health motivator. Um, so, Rochelle T. Parks is a godly woman, wife of 25 years, mother of 3 children. Um, a person who feels like she has been brought into this world to help others achieve optimal health. I mean, I 30 years military service, retired military veteran, retired military officer. But I'll tell you, my heart and my passion has been health and wellness for a very, 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 very long time. And so I just feel like I am now living what I believe God has called me to do.
Awesome. Um, as you mentioned, with your passion being health and fitness, when did that become a thing for you? Like, when did you discover health and fitness and like you decided, man, I really love this?
Well, first I said health and wellness, right?
Health and
So,
wellness, my
because
bad, my
yes,
fault.
because fitness is a part of wellness. I believe. See,
Mm,
fitness is just a physical aspect, and so a lot of times people see that I work out all the time, so they think that's all it's about. But if you listen to me,
mm,
I talk about wellness, and wellness is mind, body, and spirit,
mm,
right? So fitness is just one aspect of it. So I've always been interested. So I was an athlete as a child, very athletic, played sports. Um, and I was athletically inclined. Some people just have the gift, and I was pretty athletic as a child, and always been interested in science. And so I thought I was going to go to medical school, become a physician. So that whole side has always, been very intriguing to me, science and how the body works and all these things. And so did not go to medical school, went to college, and,
mm.
got my degree. I actually took the MCATs, did not go to medical school. By that time, actually, when I took the MCATs, I already knew I did not want to become a physician at that time, but I went ahead with it. So I guess a little bit beyond graduating from college, I was not active, just allowing life to take its course. I got married a year after I graduated college and not very active physically, really, and didn't really like the way I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fast forward, had a child, and really, at this time, I was in the Army. I was in the Army National Guard, and this time, after I had my child, I knew I was like, okay, I gotta do better. I gotta do better. This is not who I am. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I love to be fit. I know the benefits of fitness, and so I just started exercising. So then it was just about exercise, and this was like the late '90s, and it was just about physical fitness, and I shouldn't. Yeah, well, no, I ate bad. I was gonna say I didn't eat terribly, but I did. Just looking back on it, I ate terribly. I mean, and so that's how I know. That's why I'm so passionate about it today,
Right.
and I really don't just give people any. I mean, I show grace, but I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just kind of straight to it because I've been there. I know where
Mm,
people are because I was there with the fast food and the McDonald's and the sodas and the processed foods all the time and the sugar. I was there. Even though
right.
I was exercising, I was still eating that way. And so you fast forward another child. You got 9/11, you got deployments, you have another child. So years
Mm,
pass, Uh, and then I'm pregnant with my third child by then. So this is 2009. So not that long ago. You're talking 10 years ago.
Yep.
And actually, at this point, I'll tell you what had transpired at that point. So by then, pregnant with my third child, so which meant I already had two. My son at the time was about 12, who's my oldest, but I can recall him having probably five cavities, five cavities or so by the age of 7 to 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I can recall my husband at the time having borderline high blood pressure and, overweight and, just all these things. I can recall my daughter suffering with eczema,
Mm-hmm.
so I remember all of that. And that was really normal, for
Right.
people back then. That was just the standard American diet is what
Right.
we were
Right.
consuming. Lots of fast food, lots of soda, putting drink boxes in my son's lunch every day and just all these things. And so honestly, when I was pregnant with my third child, a friend of mine came by our house one Sunday. I remember we had gotten home from church and she dropped by and it was her and her husband, and she gave me and my husband this book. And she said, read this book, it will change your life. And it did. The name of the book was Eat This and Live by Dr. Don Colbert. And it was an easy read. I read the book and it really just opened my eyes to the fact that I was killing my family, unknowingly. Nobody sets out to kill their family. I was just doing what I knew to do.
Right.
I was eating the food I knew to eat.
Right.
And that's why I say, when I speak about diabetes and high blood pressure not being genetic, it's not a diabetic gene. It's not a high blood pressure gene. There is a gene called the familial gene.
Mm-hmm.
And if you continue to do that which is familiar to you, then chances are you'll have what your people had. And
Gotcha.
so that's the same boat I was on the familial gene. So I grew up eating sweets, lots of sweets, and drinking sodas and, frequenting the fast food places. And so that's what I was doing in my family. And so needless to say, my husband and I talked about it, decided to make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the cold turkey type. Some people got the wean. We didn't. We really did. We decided to clean out our cabinets, our cupboards, our refrigerators. I mean, we just honestly I had my friend come over because I didn't know what was good and what was bad.
Right.
I didn't. And
that's your friend that gave you the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Kim, I said, Kim, you got to come tell me because I don't know what's good and what's bad. I knew nothing about reading labels. All this stuff I talk about now, I knew nothing about. And this was 2009. Hasn't been that long ago.
Right, right.
And I said, if you tell me it's bad, I'm throwing it out. And she was like, are you serious? I said, yeah. My husband and I, we talked about it. And, we want to start afresh, start anew, and that's what we did. And at the end of that, I think I had 9 bags of groceries that I donated to the food pantry at my church, and then 6 bags that I just threw away because it was, open stuff, and I, didn't want to give that to anybody. And we just started over. And then, of course, my cupboards were bare at that time, so I needed to go grocery shopping. And I just had basic things that I was looking for on the labels. If it was present, I wasn't getting it. So I started shopping at places like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and Mom's Organic Market. And I stayed there probably for a few months until I was comfortable to go to a regular grocery store. But I stayed where I felt like I was safe, in healthier stores. And did it cost more? Absolutely. Yeah. But the way we looked at it is we were worth it. We were worth way more than we could ever spend in the grocery store. So we've spent way more on less,
Yeah, that's true.
That was us investing in our health and investing in our future. Because I told you I had, I was pregnant, and I already had 2. And so I'm like, okay, we need to start this third one off. Give her a chance.
Right.
Give her a better start,
Right.
And that was the beginning. So 2009, to answer your question, is when this whole, the nutrition part kicked in. Like I said, I was already on the physical fitness piece. I had already competed in bodybuilding. I did that in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I had already done that. Right. So, but bodybuilding and wellness, not the same thing. Nutrition, the only time they're really into the nutrition is toward the end when you're trying to cut, to get on stage. So other than that, you're kind of eating a lot of stuff.
Right. And I think that's a great point that you make, especially clarifying and correcting the mistake from earlier, clarifying that fitness and wellness are not the same thing. Like fitness fits into nutrition, or yeah, fitness fits into wellness, and nutrition fits
Absolutely.
into there.
Yeah.
But like
Hmm.
having the umbrella and a clear understanding of what it means to be well, and not just doing the workouts, because like the workouts you're doing now, I've been jumping on there consistently, and
Hmm.
I only felt that I was able to do that because I got into the swing of things with a morning routine of just getting up every morning and doing a making my bed, doing a devotional, and then going out for a walk. And I just found it funny, within 5 days of me like committing to that,
Hmm.
like your video pops up October 1st, and I'm like, oh, okay, like I can do this. Like
Hmm.
it's not like I wasn't getting up at 5 at the time because my schedule's been kind of up and down, but I was like, hey, like I said I can do it, I want to do it, and it's on Facebook. She made it easy. I can go back and watch the replay, and it's like, okay, it's 15 minutes. And before I'd done like a 7-minute hit, which I found to be very useful at the time. And it was just like, okay, I don't need to go work out for an hour after I come back from work, having worked 12 hours. It's like I can just do the 7-minute thing. And now doing 15 or 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, it's not so bad. Like, okay, maybe I can't do what you're doing, but as you're doing it, you're making it easier, or you're giving us modifications to say,
Hmm.
okay, if you can't jump, just like move your leg, like
Yeah.
do this. And then I
Yeah.
went from not being able to hold a plank for too long to like, oh, okay, now I've got my posture right. Now my
Hmm.
shoulders are square, and
Yeah.
I started feeling the soreness of it. But then I was like, oh, my little brother showed me this guy called Athlete X, and I went on there, and he's I forget what the proper terminology is, but as he shows you exercises to do and not to do, he
Hmm.
explains it with like the body and showing you, okay, here's the skeleton, here's where this affects you, and things of that sort. So
Hmm.
I think it's a very important thing, highlighting what wellness is and what it's not, and
Right.
just making that clear to people, because the people that want to get it and are open to it, they just kind of latch on. And I'm not sure if, I'm sure you've noticed it as you're doing the workouts, that you may have like the same person sign up over and over again, or the same people kind of just like follow you. And
Yeah.
I'd noticed that within Breathe University, which is how we met, you'd been posting online, doing videos on your own, and then you made some adjustments and things, partnering up with people to where it's help you kind of focus on what you needed to focus on, and not worry so much about the like all the other things that kind of seemed as like, how am I going to do that?
Yeah. No, I just try to stay in my lane. This is my lane. If you see, I'm not talking about finances or investing or real estate, or that's not, this is my lane. So I try to stay in my lane. I'm the health motivator,
Yep.
right? So if it's health, then yeah, that's me.
Mm.
If it's not, doesn't mean I don't know anything about the other stuff. That's not my focus. That's not my
Right.
specialty.
Right.
Um, but no, I love to make that clear to people that, it's a clear delineation between, you know, fitness and wellness, because I say all the time, I know plenty of people who look fit,
Mm.
right, on the outside, but still maybe diabetic, or, have high blood pressure, or,
Mm.
just have some digestive issues, or, heart issue, whatever. So, but they look fit on the outside, but health is an inside out job.
Yep. Yep.
You talk about health, I'm talking about blood work. Like, what does your blood work say?
Right. Right.
Now you could be progressing, your A1C could be coming down.
Yep.
And so, but if your A1C is, at a certain level, then you're diabetic. That's not
Right.
healthy.
Right.
You're getting better, but that's not healthy. I'm sorry. People say, oh, I'm pretty healthy. I just take one pill for high blood pressure. That's not healthy.
Nope.
That's not healthy. So
Yeah.
you could be getting better, because you were taking two. Now you're down to one. So
Mm.
we're moving in the right direction, but you're getting healthier.
Right.
But yeah, so it just, that's why I always ask people, what does health mean to you? Like, define health. What does health mean? And so for people, it's different. Some
Right.
people say
Right.
just to having the ability to move, move my limbs, just to wake up,
Yeah.
just to, freedom of movement. Some people may say medication free, sleeping through the night, no pains in my body, so people just have their own definition of what health means to them,
Mm.
so I have my own definition,
Right.
you know.
Mm.
So, and it has nothing to do with the age. People say,
Right.
well, I guess for this age. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
say for this age. Somebody say, oh no, well, I guess for 55, I'm doing pretty good. No, I don't
Yeah.
put a number to it, because you are what you eat.
Right.
So it's not, people say my age caught up to me. It's not your age, it's your lifestyle. Your lifestyle caught up to you, not your
Yeah.
age.
It's funny. My oldest brother always would tell me from time to time. He's like, uh, "When you're young, you can eat whatever because it's almost like you're committing murder, but you just like putting the bodies away. But as soon as you hit 30, like all those decisions you make are going to catch up to you. So it's like if you don't want it to show that quickly, you need to start correcting, like course correcting right now, to where all of a sudden when it
Yeah.
looks like, oh, I just blew up, it's like, no,
No,
you've
you
been
didn't.
murdering the cupcakes over there on the sides and the cakes and
Right.
this and that. It's like,
I talked about that this morning. I said, I promise you, whatever you feel today, that didn't just happen.
yeah,
That's been brewing inside for a long time. This lady said, Rochelle, I don't know. It seemed like when I hit 40, I just all of a sudden I got this tire. I'm like, no, that didn't just happen at 40. That tire has been forming for years.
right,
And so that's what I say, your lifestyle caught up. It's not your age, your
yeah.
lifestyle. So,
And
you know,
I think that's an important thing because a lot of times you it's I guess it's easy to make the excuse, and sometimes it seems like insensitive, especially when you're in the position that you're doing what you need to be doing. And maybe if you're speaking to somebody that's not willing to receive it or able to receive the information that you're given, like a lot of times it comes off as like, oh, maybe you're being too hard or maybe you're being insensitive. And I say that for myself to where earlier this year I was going through like a poor mental state and really understanding over like the last 3 years, 2 to 3 years, what mental health is. And again,
mm-hmm,
like mental health and mental wellness, like making that distinction that this isn't, it may be something that's more talked about now with social media, but mental health is something that and mental wellness are something that are a part of your life, whether you pay attention to it or not, is a very big danger. But the health and wellness that you do in the morning every day, that makes such a big difference. Because before I would think, oh, maybe she's too intense or maybe I can't do that. But when you shift your focus from being okay, this is what I can and can't do, versus like, this is what I want for myself, the wellness, this is how I want my life to look like, instead of just seeing it like, okay, I'm losing, house is about to get repossessed, or oh, kids don't like me anymore, or nobody looks at me the way they used to look at me. It's like, okay, how do you look at you? If you don't like how you're looking
mm-hmm,
physically, or like you
mm-hmm,
don't feel attractive anymore, it's like, are
mm-hmm.
you willing to change that? And for
Right.
me, myself, it may sound strange coming from a guy's perspective, but um, they say like men and women are very similar, where you have men that are prima donnas in a way, guys that struggle with eating disorder, like bulimia and starvation, like
Mm-hmm.
is it bulimia, or where you overeat or undereat?
Uh, Anorexia is when yeah, bulimia is when you overeat then throw up.
Right.
Anorexic is when you don't eat.
Okay. So I guess maybe I need to slow down on this point because I can feel myself kind of getting excited and speeding up. But at least for me, in high school and middle school, I did wrestling. And I guess when it comes to wrestling, like you did, um, remind me, it's strength training or power training for performing.
That I
Yes,
did bodybuilding.
bodybuilding. Right.
Mhm.
And like you were talking about earlier, when it comes to the fitness aspect that goes into that, a lot of people may not look at the wellness, to where with bodybuilding, I'm sure it's similar to wrestling, where if you want to compete at a certain weight class, you do the workouts, you do the training and everything. And then when it comes to cutting weight, you can do it the right way or the wrong way. And the wrong way that I did, and many people do when they're in middle school or high school, or even at the professional level, people that are fighting in like the UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, MMA, and all of that, mixed martial arts, is that, oh, I need to cut 10 or 20 pounds. Let me throw on a sweatsuit and just sweat it out, drain
Mhm.
all the water out of my body within a day, within a week, which is very unhealthy, and it becomes
Mhm.
taxing on your kidneys. But because you don't see it necessarily, you're thinking, like, I'm young, what's the worst that can happen? And now, like, you
Yeah.
grow up in your 20s, you're struggling to walk, and
Yeah.
you're having this issue or that issue. And I think, like, the people that are doing it right, like yourself, and putting the emphasis on saying, like, okay, this is wellness. You can get to that weight if you're trying to compete, or you can get to that weight if you're just trying to look better and feel better. But here's the right way to go about it. Like, let's start out with a hit training workout, do some cardio, but understand that if you're doing a hit, this is the purpose that it provides. Understand that if you're doing cardio, this is what it's doing for you. If you're eating this, it might not taste great eating fruits and vegetables. Well, actually, for me, fruits and vegetables are amazing. But for somebody else, if you're not used to eating that and you're eating like the burgers and stuff, like, it's a small sacrifice that you're making for not having to go to the hospital, not having to go and pay for the cavities, not having to go and pay for all those things. And when you have that perspective, I think it really changes the position you take on it.
Yeah. I think people they don't consider the whole cost, right, of eating bad, you know. When they call it 87 octane. And I just mean, always eating fried foods, always eating processed foods, eating sugar as being the bulk of your diet, artificial colors, artificial sweetness. I mean, they don't consider the whole cost, because I promise you, I think of a couple of things. Now, there's some people who were just big all their lives, like they were big kids and they're big adults. But then you look at some, a lot of overweight adults were skinny kids, like
Mhm.
really skinny, right?
Yeah.
And so it's those same adults that when they were kids, they thought they could eat whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, they're kids, give it to them, they're gonna burn it off.
Right.
So my question always becomes, well, when does the light bulb come off? If you're always giving the kids sugar now, when does the light bulb come on in their head to know, okay, I need to stop, or I need to make some? It doesn't.
Right. Because
It
that's
it
all
doesn't.
they're
It
trying
doesn't.
to know.
That's all they know. So if they're not eating vegetables as a kid, when, and so I hear parents say, well, I don't eat that, but they let their kids eat it.
Right.
I'm like,
That's
if it's not good for you, it's not good for them.
that's scary.
We're all same body, same cells, same tissue, same organ systems. I mean, everything works the same
Right.
in the adult as it does in the kid. Everything works the same. There's no different organs. There's no different process.
Mm.
Metabolism works the same. So it's just, they don't, people do not consider the whole cost. I wasn't, when I was
Yeah.
eating that way, I wasn't even thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about the future.
Mhm.
Even though as a kid, I could see the older people,
Yeah.
when I say older, I'm not even talking about 7, I'm talking about older because I'm a kid. So older
Right.
people,
Right.
40s,
Yeah.
that's older, 30s, 40s, were overweight. They
Mhm.
were on medication. They were, but that was the norm.
Right.
That's the norm.
Everybody's
When I
either
go,
got the pot
yeah,
belly or just like, oh, here's my calendar of pills, and it's like,
yeah. People have
that's
gout,
scary. Yeah.
gout, high blood pressure, diabetic. And it's just mind boggling. When I go get a physical now, they're like, you're not on any medication. I'm like, no, and
No.
it's like they want to redo my test and check my heart rate again. And, they want to redo everything,
Yeah.
because it's like, this can't be,
Right.
and I'm just like, it can be,
Right.
it can. you know.
and, and that's
So
something else that's almost scary, where you have the medical field that, how can I phrase this? I don't know if they're supposed to promote wellness, but they take care of people, or they attempt to take care of people, but
they treat.
they treat, right. That's what it is. They treat versus, I mean, some people, they do try their best and address situations, but a lot of times by the time they get somebody in the doctor's office, it's already too late. Like, there are not a lot of people going for preventative measures, like within what you talk about. You talked about, what's the word? I got to read the book. I bought the book last year, and I just got to sit down and read it. But
Mm,
you talk, that's a shame on me. So I've got to apologize for that. And I'd like you to tell people about the book a little bit later on. But one thing that you said that stuck out to me recently is that what you basically, what you put in is what you get out.
yeah, I mean, that's what, when people say you are what you eat, we kind of think of it as a cliche, but it's really true.
Yeah.
Like garbage in, garbage out. You
Yeah.
can't you can't eat sugar all day and expect to have, a healthy body. It just doesn't. It doesn't work that way because, I always do the things with the cells, tissues. I mean, it's just when you look at it like that, like how it works, it just
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, that's why.
Right. Right.
That's why. If you just say, you are what you eat, and it's like, what do you mean? How is that? What do you mean I am what
Right.
I eat? But when you think of at our most basic level, we're made up of cells,
Yeah.
and the cells have to be healthy, and how do the cells become healthy? By giving the nutrients. But where do the nutrients come from? From the food we eat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you get good nutrients? Fruits, vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not sugar, not
Right.
all these processed foods, not these lab experiments that I call it. That's destroying our cells,
Yeah.
making them malfunction, and that's the root cause of disease, really, malfunctioning of cells. It
Mm.
really is. So
That's a great point. And I I just like being able to have this conversation with you, and just the more and more I can participate on the morning workouts, or just go back and watch some of the things that you've done, it really brings into focus like what it is that you're doing, and you being about what you're about 100%, where you're not trying to masquerade something, or you're not trying to make up something, like window dressing, I think is what they call it. Like,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
believe in what you're teaching, because you're also practicing what you're teaching, and you're 100% in it. And it's not something like you had to make, well, you did have to make a drastic life shift in 2009, when you saw the situation where you were in, and you're like, this isn't working. Like,
right.
I'm
For
not
nobody.
well.
It wasn't
Yeah.
working for
Yeah.
nobody.
For nobody. It's like, I'm not
Yeah.
well. My husband's not well. My kids aren't well. And I'm getting ready to bring another kid into this. It's like, something's got to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And even when I say that, and I say this all the time, I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying that we sit around and eat fruits and vegetables all day. That's not what I'm saying at all. So I don't want anybody to mistake that, to think that I'm saying we're up here and everybody's down here. That's
Right.
not, we're not perfect people. What I am saying though is there's certain things that I try my best to avoid.
Mm.
I can count on one hand how many times I have soda in a year.
Yeah.
I'm reading labels. I try my darndest. If it has artificial colors or artificial sweeteners, I don't want it. I'm not
Yeah.
consuming it. Um, Try my best to avoid high fructose corn syrup. But the reality is, if I'm out somewhere eating something, I don't know what they put
It's,
in it. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So, but if I'm not buying it.
Right.
If I'm purchasing something, it has high. I'm not buying it.
Right.
If it has, yellow 5, yellow 6, or whatever, sucralose, whatever, I'm not buying it.
Gotcha.
So
And
it's just
that's,
certain things that I try to avoid. Mm-hmm.
and that those are things that you go into details with the coaching that you do. personally through your brand.
Absolutely, because we perish for lack of knowledge. People don't
Right.
know. People don't know that. Okay, artificial colors are linked to ADHD in kids.
Mm.
Like what? Who knew that? People don't know that. People don't
Right.
know
Right.
artificial sweeteners are linked to cancer. So that's why it honestly it irks me
Yeah.
when I hear people say when somebody is stricken with cancer and they say, oh my goodness, but they exercise, they ate well, they this, and I'm just like, okay,
That's not the whole story.
yeah, it's not the whole story. Nobody's talking about all the red velvet cake that they consume, and I'm not saying they're consuming cake every day, but I'm just saying
Right.
just
Right.
just could taking in artificial colors. People, it's artificial colors. I mean, people got to read the labels. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the devil is in the details.
Right. And
I
I mean that
promise.
a lot of the things, I'm sure they may not have been intended for that, because like I'm sure even like back in the day, smoking was a big thing. It was advertised as like, oh, this is a great thing. Like there are people that smoke and they never felt anything bad from it. But
Hmm.
like just understanding, like once the information starts coming out, like, oh no, this is contributing to actively killing people. And um, once people kind of got that, it's like, oh, okay, like now that I know, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to fool with that.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. They say when you know better, you're supposed to do better, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way we felt. We knew better. So I'm like, how can we continue
Mm.
to do this? Even with our decision to lay off the pork,
Yeah.
and the scavengers. I mean, we're believers. We
Mm.
read the word, and the word said it was dirty,
Yeah.
So, and look, guess what? He ain't failed me yet. I believe him.
Right.
I believe him. It has nothing to do with salvation. It just has to do with health. It's a health thing.
Yeah.
You can get sick. And so I'm about prevention. I'm not
Mm.
trying to, I'm not trying to be sick. Ain't nobody got time for it.
Right.
Ain't
Right.
nobody got time to be sick. So I'm trying to do my best to prevent sickness, right?
Mm.
So I'm into well care, not sick care.
Yeah.
I'm into well care, not sick care. So that's just the way I see it. It's easier. It's less expensive,
Yeah.
because sickness is expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be very expensive, and see, people don't consider that. They just think,
Right.
oh, it costs too much to buy fruits and vegetables. I'm like, oh, it
Yeah.
costs a whole lot more to buy a lot of medication, a whole
Yeah.
lot more.
If not even that, just for going to like insurance, you need that in case something happens. But I was looking at the difference of what I paid versus what the company paid that I worked
Mhm.
with. It's like they
Mhm.
paid up to 75%, and I
Mhm.
was only paying 25%. And the moment that
Mhm.
I left, in order for me to maintain it, I had to pay the 100%. And I was like, oh, wow, it's that much. So I kind of
Mm.
tip my hat off to them and I say, thank you. Like people always dog out corporations, but it's like, it provides a service. Like there may
Mhm.
be certain expectations that don't agree with you. That's something that you have to seek out personally and decide what is it that you need to be doing, and not blaming somebody else for not giving you your
Right.
dreams or your goals. But that's another conversation.
Right, right. And
But
then you just think about what does it worth to you to sleep through the night? What does it worth to you to have, have no pain in your body? What is that worth to you to get rid of the migraine headaches,
right.
to have your bowels move on a regular basis, to
Yeah.
have freedom of movement, to get
Mhm.
rid of inflammation in your body? What is that worth,
Yeah. Yeah.
to you?
And
So,
I mean, that's something that I guess I've taken for granted in the past, because for me, I'm not naturally born American, but and I've been naturalized as a citizen. But coming from like a third world country where food is scarce, the way that we always saw it, we like where we come from, the rich are overweight because they have enough money to buy the food. So we're
mm-hmm,
always just like, oh man, you're really healthy. But then when you come over
mm-hmm,
to America, it's like, oh wow, like everybody's like got money over here. But then when you start reading between the lines, you're like, maybe they're not as rich as we
right,
thought they were. And
mm-hmm,
then the thing that just switched, where food was a scarcity before, it's an abundance here. But seeing what's in the food, it's like, oh, okay, like
mm,
I can have a Chick-fil-A sandwich, but maybe I don't need to have it every single day or every single week.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
at the moment when my mom, she's big on cooking things fresh because that's just how she grew up and that's what she knew. And I'm always grateful for that because um, it allows me to taste things for what they are. And like if
Mm-hmm.
I get something, I don't season it automatically. I figure the person that made it already seasoned it to some degree. And then I want to taste what it tastes like.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like getting a thing of salsa chips and somebody just dumps a whole thing of salt on it. I'm like, just keep it. I don't like, I didn't even get to taste what the chip was supposed to taste like because
Mm-hmm.
you already assumed that it needed a pound of salt on it. Like,
Right. Right.
it,
Right.
yeah, it's all yours. And then the same person, I'm not going to call out their name, but like, of course, I saw them maybe 5 years after college and like they blew up, like put on some weight. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like as we watched you eat every single day, it's like, yep, that's gonna come back. That's all gonna come up to
Absolutely.
bite you. And then they're like, oh,
Lifestyle.
I
Lifestyle
don't know
caught
what
up.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know what happened. We're all sitting here like, we all know what happened.
We all know what happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But people don't. They don't connect the dots all the time. They don't.
yeah,
They don't. They literally. They. So this is what they think. I got older and my
yeah,
metabolism slowed down.
yeah,
That's it. That's why I gained weight. I got older and my metabolism slowed down. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying those aren't facts, but
right, right.
that's not the reason. The
Yeah,
reason, is the poor choices, from early.
mm,
I thank God really, because when I think about how I ate,
mm,
as a kid and even as a young adult, it's only God's grace that I'm
yeah,
not on any type of medication. So I'm like, okay, he must have like, okay, I'm gonna spare you because I got work for you to do. I
right,
need you to do
right.
the work, and I'm not saying I'm out of the woods, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Anything can happen, but I'm just saying, by the grace of God, my blood pressure is great. My, A1C is awesome.
mm,
HDL, I mean, all my blood work is good,
yeah,
you know, uh, but I know how I used to eat. But
mm,
that's what's so beautiful about it, because I'm always reminded of and you're too young for this probably, but it was a show called The $6 Million Man, when I was a kid, and he was like a bionic man, and they used to say, we can rebuild them. He was, he had like a computer in the
yeah.
inside, it was like a
Uh,
robot or whatever. But
okay.
the whole idea is you could rebuild them, so it didn't matter if he lost a limb or whatever, they could put them back together. And so
Mm,
that's the way God made our bodies, that it doesn't matter how far we've degenerated,
right.
we can rebuild them.
Mm,
Because again, if at our most basic level, we're made up of cells, right?
right,
So I
right.
just got to share this real quick because you probably have heard it before. So if I break us down to our most basic unit, anything, cells, that's what we're made of, right? And
Mm,
cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ systems. When organ systems are like your reproductive system, digestive system, cardiovascular system, endocrine, right,
mm,
integumentary, like systems, and then organ systems make up the organism. So you put all those together, you have a person,
yeah.
right? So if the person is unhealthy, right, uh, you have to start, if you want to make the person healthy, you start with giving it healthy cells,
Mm,
right? And
right,
it goes through that same process, right? Because as our cells are dying off every day, and you're regenerating new cells.
right,
But
right.
those new cells, are they healthy or are they unhealthy?
Mm,
It all depends on the food you're giving it. Are you giving it 87 octane or 93 octane,
mm,
right? And it goes through that same process. So that's why I say the root cause of disease is malfunction of cells. So, that's what we can rebuild them. So, okay. So maybe your knee is busted and you got inflammation and this or whatever, but guess what? You start giving your body the good stuff, then
mm,
you start feeling better. You
mm.
start, regenerating healthy cells around it. Okay,
Gotcha.
your blood pressure was high. You start
Mm,
giving the good stuff, it will normalize.
mm,
Okay, your A1C was high. I mean, I'm just saying, this is the way the body works. This is the way God made us.
right. It's a great
We're all
point.
$6 million men.
Yeah.
We all
whenever
can be rebuilt.
whenever you said the $6 million man, I guess what I'm more familiar with is Inspector Gadget, since he's got I saw the movie of it that maybe came out in the early 2000s, and um, I think maybe they played it more towards like, okay, he was kind of like RoboCop, where he was man and then he got turned into a machine, and they tore him apart or whatnot, but because his heart was working, I think, or something like that, like they were able to revive him. But that's still a valid point that with wellness and health, if you're not taking care of the essentials, which will affect your heart, your brain, the things that keep your body moving, once those go, like that's it. Unless you can get a transplant, or, but that's a whole nother ordeal that involves a lot of money that you may or may not have to try and fix something that could have been avoided way back when.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People say, "Rochelle, I'm just tired all the time. I just have no energy."
Yeah.
And I say, okay, well, what are you eating? Because your food should give you energy. And once they tell me, I say, what do you have for breakfast? What do you typically have for breakfast? And they'll tell me, oh, bagel, or I have coffee and bagel, or whatever, whatever. What do you have for lunch? Oh, a sandwich. I may grab a sandwich from Subway, some chips, maybe a soda, dinner. So I'm like, I don't see where you're giving your body anything to get energy from.
Right.
I mean, what what if
bread,
your food, you got bread, you got sugar, you got, I'm like, what do you got? Dairy, just creates inflammation. So they don't connect the dots. People don't realize how they feel every day has everything to do with what they put inside of their bodies. They don't.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because for me, it's like, at times, I guess I got tired of getting clowned for not ordering fast food or knowing what fast food is, like being able to order off the menu. And like, I like fought to go to Hardee's when I was in middle school with a friend of mine. He was just like, oh yeah, let's just go over here and get ice cream. And it's like, I would go and get it, and I was like, oh, it tastes sweet at first, but from having like 12 years of eating like natural fruit, vegetables every single day, you got a mix of like grain, fat, onions, this, that, like everything's always balanced. All of a sudden you get this big rush of stuff, and it's like, oh, this is cool. I finally get to have what everybody else had. But within a short period of time, it just didn't agree with me anymore, to where I was like, okay, maybe I don't want an ice cream today, or maybe I don't want a burger. Like, it was good. It tasted good. And after a while, when you see things like somebody taking a picture of a McDonald's burger and they just let it sit and it stays the exact same, no change, no nothing, I'm like, something's not right about that. Like, it might be quick and convenient, but I'm like, yeah, not this time. So
yeah, I have that. I have a McDonald's cheeseburger, a small fry, and a 4-piece nugget, and I bought it April 5th of 2014. I still have it.
You just have it in the house, or?
Yeah, it's in maybe downstairs in the basement, but it's in the bag, in the McDonald's bag there, the bag that it came in, and I have that in a Ziploc bag. And, when I have events or I'm doing things, I have it on display, to show people that it still looks the same. Just the bread is hard, everything is hard, but it's the same. Nothing is decomposed. And I always say, if you make your own burger, though, if you make your own burger, and you leave it out, it's gonna mold. It's gonna mold. But the bread doesn't mold. Even the bread you buy off the shelf, it doesn't mold. It's filled with preservatives. That's the difference between that bread and the bread I make. I make my own bread. Haven't done it in a while, but mill my own flour and everything. So there's no preservatives in that. You leave that out for 5 days, that's gonna mold. This bread on the shelf that you get, it's never gonna mold. Bread used to mold back in the day, though. When I was a kid, bread on the shelf used to mold. That just goes to show you how things have changed over the years, how they added more preservatives. So because bread will mold on you. It did when I was a kid.
Within a day, within 2 days. Because I remember for us, we would always get these like French baguettes for breakfast. Like, you do that with, and I'm hungry now thinking about it.
Yeah. But I'm talking about just some regular old Sunbeam. It wouldn't mold in within 2 days. So you do some Hashitachi baguettes. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about some back in the day, it was Sunbeam, or what was the other? want to say Mrs. Baird's. I'm from Texas, so
Okay, got you.
I remember Sunbeam, Mrs. Baird's. Those are the two I remember. But that
Okay.
bread, I mean,
Right.
it would stay on the counter for like a week or so, but
Right.
it's not gonna stay on there 2, 3 weeks, whatever. It will mold, and you pick it
That's
up,
true. I
and you say,
misspoke.
"Oh,
Not a day. Not a day.
yeah, not a
At
couple of
least a week.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
about a week or so."
I remember there was like from knowing that back in fifth grade we had either fifth or fourth grade we had this assignment where you were supposed to bring something in for like science class,
Hmm.
and it's supposed to be on mold, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do that, like bread molds. So I put it in a Ziploc bag and I brought it to school with me, and I think either I had it out for the project or I forgot it on my desk. I'd left to get some water and came back, and the girl that sits next to me was screaming, like looking at it, like, "Oh my god, it's molding!" And I was like, "It's just bread. Like it's supposed to mold, but it was like
Yeah.
kind of like this scary mold." But I was like, "Oh
Hmm.
my bad." Like I just took it and put it away, and I think that's kind of a value that a lot of people are missing as you become more comfortable, or as you kind of move away from like the hardships that you traverse over time, and you're like, okay, your parents had it hard, they want their kids to have it better. It's like in trying to make things better, sometimes you make them worse if you don't
Yeah.
understand why certain things were hard or why you did certain things. And I think that
Hmm.
that kind of reminds me of a proverb where it says like, it's not smart to move an old boundary stone. And I don't know if I quoted that right, but essentially it's saying like, the way I understand it just now, I was always thinking that it was a physical boundary or a physical stone or rock that somebody's moving that's
Hmm.
supposed to keep the boundary of somebody's estate or yard. But now that I think about it, as we're talking about wellness, it's like there are certain principles about wellness, wealth, health that are staples that if you violate those, they will violate you in turn. And
Hmm.
you can't do that, because
Hmm.
what results in it is cancer, diabetes, arthritis, all these different things. Like I picked up somebody recently doing Uber just on the weekend, and I was on my way to the men's retreat for once a year we're getting together, and we kind of just meet up to be able to see each other face to face. And I think it was around the Knoxville area, since Pigeon Forge is over that way, and Gatlinburg, Tennessee. But he was probably the last person I was picking up on my way to my destination. And as he was struggling to get out of his house, like I noticed that his hands, they were they weren't regular. And I think it was like a combination of gout and arthritis. Like I didn't ask, trying to be respectful, but he was told me, he's
Hmm.
like, it's hard for him. Like his wife just had knee surgery, and he was going to get some liquor to like help the pain,
Wow.
because the
Wow.
pain that they gave her, it was only a few pills, and like his
Mm.
neighbor is robbing him and other things. And I just sat there and I was just looking at the situation like, man, this it's a terrible situation, but I looked at it as I can't really do anything aside from get you to where you need to go.
Hmm.
And as I was just figuring this out, just driving for the, I think maybe the second time, I was like, usually you're supposed to just drop somebody off, but with him being elderly and maybe me being too nice, I was like, okay, the destination didn't quite take us there, so I kind of like rerouted and got him to where he needed to go, and then took him back. And at first, I was getting worried. I was like, oh God, help me to get him back to his house, because I'm not from this area. And
Hmm.
we eventually got there, and then I was on my way. But I was just like, that's like, I didn't have anything to give him in the moment. And I was like, maybe it's not meant for me to necessarily give him something to say, oh, go and see Rochelle's video. But it's one of those things where it's like, if I keep doing what I need to do on a regular, from like watching you or just getting the information from myself, and say, okay, before I go and invest in real estate, I need to get a fitness tracker and a heart rate monitor, because that, like, if this stops beating, like if I stop working because of my own fault, then I can't
Right.
look to somebody else and blame and be like, oh, why God, why did you do? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think God did that. I think you were given a body, you were given certain responsibilities. You may or may not have been taught what to do, but the world we live in now has more than enough information. If you're put in certain situations where this isn't working, that isn't working, and you kind of like come to yourself for a moment and you say, what can I do to fix it? Like the opportunity presents itself like within days, within hours. I don't know what the exact time frame, but like you described your situation and your friend just happened to bring you the book to say, read this will change
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that was divine,
Yeah.
because I didn't know. We didn't know. They just stopped by our house. They just say, "Hey, we're on our way."
Yeah.
We still had on church clothes. I remember. And it was just a moment in time, and it was a life change. I'm glad we were obedient
Mm-hmm.
and actually read the book and then, executed from that
Right.
point. And so, and again, I am not um, saying that we're perfect or not promoting that, advocating
Mm-hmm.
that anybody would be perfect. What I am a promoter of is getting your health bank account in the black. That's the way I like
Mm-hmm.
to look at it. So a lot of times we're looking at our financial bank account, like how much money do we have in the bank?
Yeah.
Well, I want people to look at their health bank account. You
Yeah.
know, is that in the black or is that in the red?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's in the red, then we need to make some changes to get it in the black,
Right. Right.
right? And so because you can your just like your regular bank account, you can make withdrawals from your account and still be in the black.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the health bank account. When you have it in the black, you can still make withdrawals and still be in the black. But you can't get nothing from nothing. So if you're
Yeah.
already in the red and you making, withdrawals, then you're just going further in the red.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to make some healthy deposits instead of all these unhealthy withdrawals. We have to start making healthy deposits so we can build it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that if you want to make an unhealthy withdrawal, if you want to get the milkshake, if you want to get the burger, it's okay. If you
Yeah.
want to get the donut, it's okay. Your account is good.
Right. Right.
You
It's
know.
funny because I'll say it. I was gonna say I don't know if I should say it, but I'll say it. I think the other night I had like I knew I should. It wasn't the best thing to do, but I was like, I just need something to eat, and I just want something quick. And I wasn't thinking, okay, let me get a carrot or let me get some celery. I was like, no, I want specifically like the Magnum ice cream on the stick, double chocolate. And I was like, okay, there's three in the thing. Like I just ate all three, but I'm like driving on my way. I was like, okay, it happened. But then what did I do the next morning? Like I went for a drive. This was maybe at like midnight, and I was like, hey, why don't I just clear my head? And this isn't the best thing for it, but um, I cleared my head, drove a little bit, and got back. Understood that I needed to rest, even though it was midnight or 1 o'clock. Like got back, rested, didn't wake up at 3:30. Like took the extra time to sleep, and then I think what woke me up was your alert of you going live. I was like, okay, Rochelle's live. Let's do this workout. Like it may not be like I'm not doing the workout necessarily to counteract the food I ate. Like I ate that
Mm-hmm.
intentionally. Like I knew what I was doing, and I'm not going to be here like wah wah boo hoo. Like I'm not doing that. Like I'm doing the workout because I want to do it, and I understand the benefit that it's going to do to my body. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so like I might smash the ice cream, but I'm going to do the workout, go walk or run, come back. I ate a thing of vegetables. It was just like salad and carrots. So that gave me the energy that I needed for the day after having like a short rest. But then later in the day, when it was like 3 or 4 or 7 p.m., I was like, I got to go to sleep because that 3 hours of rest or 4 hours, however much time it wasn't enough. And my body needs to kind of recover. So it's like I can put out the energy, but like you got to put out some, put back some, put out some, put back some, just kind of keep the levels
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah, I have a question that when you said you were so you weren't, because I'm going, I'm going back to the ice cream. You were not hungry. Hungry is not what you were.
No,
You were
I was
craving
just,
sugar.
yes, I was craving sugar.
Oh, okay, because
But
you said I was hungry. I just wanted something quick. I'm like, no, you
no,
weren't hungry.
no, I was craving
Yeah.
sugar. And
Okay, yeah.
that's
I
one
just
of the,
want people to
yeah,
hear that he
right.
wasn't hungry. That's not hungry. He was craving sugar. Okay.
Right. And that's one of the things, kind of going back to the balance piece, where it's having the like systems in place, because somebody told me a good, like a tip for starting your day off, instead of maybe having a cup of coffee, you just have a tablespoon of honey, which is a natural sugar, more or less. I know you probably say do agave, and they said do a tablespoon of honey, and then do, not a teaspoon of honey, and a teaspoon of coconut oil. And I was like, okay, let me
To
try
do
it.
what though? Why? Why are we doing it?
So, yeah, this is a good question to ask you. They're saying that the fat in the coconut oil is something that your body needs. I guess,
I'm not
yeah.
disputing coconut oil. I'm
Okay.
trying to say why are we doing the honey at all? What is the point?
I think the honey is mainly to combat the taste of the coconut oil.
So they're saying instead of doing coffee,
Yeah. Do
do honey with coconut oil
yeah,
as a
like a jump
is this
start to your day.
breakfast? Is this what
I
is
mean, it's part of your breakfast. So like you'd wake up, get a scoop of coconut oil, eat it, and then get a scoop of honey as like a chaser, to just be like, okay, it's a little bit of sugar, or it's really a lot of sugar, but that's something that you get in your system. And then you can either eat something, or if you don't have the time to eat something, that will give you enough to kind of like get your day going. I tried it a couple of times and it seemed to work, but I was like, even with talking with my mom, it's like we're trying to avoid oils. And I was like, well, but there are healthy oils. But I was like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not smart to just like ingest oil like that without having anything else to go with it.
yeah. So here's my philosophy. People ask me all the time, Rochelle, what about this? Does it work? Yeah, it probably does.
Mm-hmm.
But I always come back with this question. But is that something you're going to do for the rest of your life? Is that something that you're going to ingest honey with coconut oil every day? See,
Not,
but
yeah,
I could do a smoothie. I could do a
yeah,
smoothie every
yeah.
day. I can. I can do apples, oranges. I can
Right,
do, I don't, that's easy. That's the food he gave. He gave us that.
right,
I'm just saying, eat the food, guys. So I'm not saying it doesn't work.
right. I mean,
I just know,
it's kind of worked for me, but it, after a while, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of just eating like the raw, hard, like coconut oil right off.
yeah.
But like,
So,
yeah,
yeah. And so that's why I was like, why are we doing honey? Is honey still to get the fix of the sugar? So take away the coffee and sugar, but you're still going to get the sugar.
yeah,
See, I'm trying to get people to break the addiction to the sugar.
right.
So now
What,
I'm like, no, don't start your day with sugar,
right.
you know.
And
So even when
why?
they do the fruit and veggie thing, they're like, can we have honey? That's still a sweetener. That's still sugar. Can I have
Right,
stevia? That's still sugar. I'm saying no
right.
sugar.
And why is that important to break that habit of the sugar?
Oh man, sugar is the root of it's the devil. Okay,
Mm. Tell the
sugar is
truth.
the devil. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, it's just one of the main reasons for inflammation in the body.
Mm.
Sugar. It's just bad. It's bad juju. You know, um, it just wreaks havoc in the body. It really does. And the more we can stay away from it. Now
Mm-hmm.
there are simple sugars, natural sugars and fruit and things like that. I'm
Right.
talking about actual sugar, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be white sugar. I mean, there are healthier sugars. Stevia is healthier.
Right.
It's not processed like white sugar, but then there are artificial sugars, that are worse that people
Yeah.
think is better.
Right.
You got equal and sweet and low and
Yep. Yep.
all
That.
these things that people think is good. I'm like, no, it's worse. I'd
Yeah.
rather you have white sugar than the artificial sugar.
Yeah.
But it just wreaks havoc in the body. It really does.
Gotcha.
It's an addiction. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
Yep. Yep.
So people, they got to have it, and when they don't have it, just like I have folks doing it, the 7-day fruit and veggie challenge. Now this is
Yeah.
day 6 for us because I'm doing it with them. The first day, people had migraine headaches. By
Yeah.
noon, they already had migraine headaches because they didn't have their coffee that morning.
Yeah.
So that's just like, man, my body is reacting with a headache
Hmm.
just because, I mean, like a headache, like within 3 hours because I haven't had coffee. What does
Right.
that tell you?
Right.
That's scary to me that my body will react that way
Hmm.
for not having something. You know what I mean? That's an addiction.
Right.
It's either addiction to the sugar, and it could be an addiction to the caffeine.
Yeah.
So the body will tell on you.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point that you make that separation, because another thing that I've started doing recently is just like fasting for like the purpose of just taking some time away. And I found it hard to fast for a while because it's just you go from having something to having nothing, but then
Mm-hmm.
making the slight adjustment of saying, okay, maybe I don't go from having completely nothing, but maybe I take away like the sugar, or I take away something that I would desire like highly. And then, okay, maybe instead of doing the whole day, I do part of the day. And even just starting a morning like this, um, like after a while, once you practice it and you're very intentional about why you get that or you don't get that, it's like, oh, okay, my body doesn't need it. Because I'd done your fruit and veggie challenge before, and I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. I eat fruits and vegetables all the time, but I made the mistake of loading up on the fruit, which is all the sugar, without having the greens to go with it. And I was like, oh, that's why I eat that. Like, that's like, it keeps you balanced. And like when I got to my salad, I was like, okay, I'm going to kill the salad because I need, like, the way my body burns the calories. It's like I usually need anywhere from like 2,500 to 3,200 calories just to like function of like every day, getting up, going here, going there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's like I might not be talking a lot, but if it's, hey, we've got to go 5 miles over here, walk over here and walk there, like I'll do that. And we're both chameleons, and in that regard, to where it's like you work in the supportive role, but like regardless of what you are technically, like you still feel all the other roles. Like if you need to be like demanding, you can be demanding. If you need to be sociable, like this, like we can be sociable. But even structured, you can be structured. But everything has its place in like for the time you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one more question I need to ask you, or I want to ask you, is
Mm-hmm.
what does the T stand for in Rochelle T Parks?
Trinice.
Got you.
Rochelle Trinice Parks.
Got you. That's an awesome middle name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is
Thank you.
are you named after someone or
No,
no?
no,
Okay. That was just that.
no. I have a sister named Michelle Denise,
Yeah,
my older sister, and it's Rochelle Trinice. So,
gotcha. Oh, I see what your parents are doing there. Just keeping it rhyming.
yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So I just, I think my husband, this was years ago, he was calling himself, his name is Michael L. Parks, Michael Lawrence Parks. So he was
Mm.
saying Michael L. Parks. And I said, well, if you're Michael L., then I'm Rochelle T. And I started putting it in my signature block in the military. This was probably, let me see, what is this, 2019? Probably like 2014, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, started putting it in my signature block, and I start saying it, Rochelle T. Parks, and don't
Gotcha.
forget the T. And I was very adamant about it. And but even that though, knowing I was going to retire,
Mhm.
soon, it was about branding.
Mm.
Honestly, it was about branding. So I was thinking then, no, people are going to know it's Rochelle T. Parks.
Gotcha.
Because there could be some other Rochelle Parks out there, but it's
Right.
it's only one Rochelle T. Parks. So
Gotcha.
you can't forget my T.
Awesome. Makes sense. If you would let the people know how they can find you and just connect with you offline. and online.
Awesome. Yes, awesome, awesome. So I am on Facebook at Rochelle T Parks. I'm on Instagram at Rochelle T Parks. I'm on Twitter at Rochelle T Parks. It's Rochelle, and my website is rochelletparks.com.
Nice. That's simple.
Absolutely, kept it simple. You can also purchase my book on my site as well, and it comes in, paperback as well as on Kindle. So
Crap, I didn't talk about the book.
yeah, no
Our
worries.
fault. What's
The
the book
priority
called?
has to be you. The priority has to be you. 10 keys to achieve optimal health. And
Mm,
it is not about exercise, I promise you. It's about this,
mm,
getting the
makes
head right.
sense. Thanks,
So
Rochelle.
thank you. Thanks for having me. It
You're
was good.
welcome. This was a great one.
Yeah, I think so.
Are there any more events going up in with ETA? You think this year
They
or
haven't posted anymore. I know they have a big schedule for 2020.
okay?
I think I just saw something where they released did I see something where they released something for the fourth quarter challenge or something? I was at an old I think I saw something from on E's page earlier this morning where he was doing
Gotcha.
a video. They just released something, but I know they have a